Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we'll be taking a look at the cover version of We Didn't Start the Fire by the American rock band Fall Out Boy. We've certainly seen some interesting covers and reimagined versions over recent weeks. This is another one to add to that list, taking a hit at Billy Joel's original track from 1989. And the idea for this song was actually conceived when he had a conversation with a friend of Sean Lennon, the son of John Lennon, who said it's a terrible time to be 21. He felt that the 50s, nothing happened, everything was boring almost. And Billy Joel said, no, there was a lot of things going on around that time that you're just not aware of. You don't understand these cultural references and things. So he decided to kind of pen it together, covering all the events that had occurred from his birth up until around his 40th birthday. So will this reimagined version start a bonfire or simply fade away into nothingness? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds. So one thing they've actually switched up from the original is they're not actually kind of having everything in a chronological order. I've noticed some of the items aren't really kind of fitting in, but kind of beside each other. You can really see these big time jumps, but they are kind of just trying to cover, I suppose, most of the big events from 89 until 23. And I must admit, there's one different thing for me with this track is, as much as I've heard about many of the things that occurred in the previous version, I wasn't alive to live them, and it kind of hits you different. Kind of really takes me back to understanding some of these things, like when you found out the news that Michael Jackson had died. I could still remember that day and some of these events that really impact your moments in your life, whereas I didn't previously have that with the previous version. It was just one of these tracks that, being quite morbid, I just kind of just like to bop along to it because I didn't understand or know that feeling of what it was like to live through those references. So it's an interesting song to get reimagined with different lyrics and actually sit here thinking, oh yeah, I know about that, I know about that, I know about that event that happened. Still some that was a little bit too young to understand, but kind of just interesting to see kind of that switch up for me from that first song. I'm sure many people will feel the same as well.
War in Afghanistan, Cubs go all the way again. Obama, Spielberg, explosion, Lebanon. Unabomber, Bobby John, bombing Boston Marathon, balloon boy, boron, terror, QAnon. Trump gets impeached twice. Polar bears got no ice. Fire fest, Black Parade, Michael Phelps, Y2K, Boris Johnson, Brexit, Kanye West and Taylor Swift. Stranger Things, Tiger King, Ever Given Suez. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it.
One thing I do like that they've actually changed in this track compared to the original is the last line there, but we're trying to fight it. It used to be, but we tried to fight it. So kind of touching on the idea that we are still trying to kind of make the world a better place. We're not always succeeding. There's a lot of bad things still going on, a lot of really key points. One thing I do like is how they've still kept a range of ideas in, whether it be cultural, political, sporting icons, things like that, musical icons. So there's a real variety still being shown through the lyrics, but it is going to be still quite a morbid track because it's all about this idea of this fire burning, these things going wrong in the world. It's hard to make a song like this that's kind of put a positive spin on it. It just wouldn't have that same effect as it's kind of a recollection of the negativity over the past number of years.
Sandy Hook, Columbine, Sandra Bland, and Tammy Rice. ISIS, LeBron James, Shinzo Abe blown away. Meghan Markle, George Floyd, Burj Khalifa, Metroid, Fermi, Paradox, Venus and Serena. Michael Jordan, 23, YouTube killed MTV. SpongeBob, Golden State Killer got caught. Michael Jordan, 45, Woodstock, 99, Keaton, Bebe, Bush v. Gore. I can't take it anymore. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We
So if there's one thing I wish they could have done was kept that chronological ordering. It does feel like the track is a little bit all over the place. It's almost supposed to be like a timeline, and I know there was a couple in Billy Joel's original that weren't quite in that same timeline, but the majority of the song was. And I feel like it's better having that timeline to really take you through some of the key points that have happened over the years, rather than just kind of jumping from date to date kind of all over the place. It doesn't kind of add that same almost smoothness that we did see with the Billy Joel original. So it's probably the one thing that I do feel is missing from this track.
Elon Musk, Kaepernick, Texas failed electric grid, Jeff Bezos, climate change, white rhino goes extinct, Great Pacific garbage patch, Tom DeLonge and aliens, Mars rover, Avatar, self-driving electric cars, SSRI's Prince and the Queen died, World Trade Center play. What else do I have to say? We didn't start the fire, we didn't start it, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, we didn't start it, but we are not. It will still go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning.
So I'm really not surprised that they actually included the World Trade Center as kind of the final kind of almost gut punch almost. It is one of the most iconic events over sort of the past nearly 40 odd years, certainly since the release of the original track. So that was expecting that to kind of be this final note that they do end on, as almost everybody, no matter where you are in the world, can still kind of remember where they were at that day when that news unfolded. I'm surprised to see some other big events missing though, things like COVID. I mean, something that impacted the entire world, kind of shut down almost everything, but there's no real reference to that. So there's a couple of events that I'm surprised they didn't actually include, but it is interesting in a way. I don't think obviously it's the best song. I mean, the original, despite kind of having that kind of power to it that's kind of been raised up through things such as The Boys, which kind of it was heavily featured in, it is one of those songs that's not one of the strongest, and I don't think this version is either. I'd say it's quite a weak version to us. It's great in the sense that it gives us this timeline almost of events, of the big events that have happened between 89 and now, but not having that chronological order really just kind of spoils it. I do feel I'm really kind of against that almost. I kind of wish it was kind of a timeline and we could have this for the next 30 years and then another band could cover it in 30 years and kind of almost make it like a time capsule that's opened every so often, just for another band to really recap things that have happened. Obviously, I don't think Billy Joel will probably be around to do the next one to take the reins back, but certainly another band could probably do so. Overall, one thing I did like about this song though is the ability for me to kind of connect with it, to remember and reflect where I was when some of these events happened, something I didn't have with the original version. So it's kind of nice to get that almost connectivity with the song, rather than it just kind of being this bop almost that I remember hearing on The Boys and listening to on the radio and things like that. So I really like the ability to just kind of have those flashback memories almost of, oh, I remember this happening now. It's something that's kind of a key point, a key moment that has occurred during my lifetime. So that's one thing that I think myself and people of a sort of similar age will quite enjoy, having that ability to associate with it, something that I'm sure many people had with the original in 1989. So that'll be everything for today's video, but as always, feel free to let me know your thoughts about this track in the comments section below. Let me know if you can really connect with this song, if you were around the release of the original and you've kind of been going through some of these events of the past 30 years. I would love to know how you find it in your ability to connect with this version of the song. And if you'd like to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next Arjo analysis.